Welcome to another episode of the RAG podcast. And for those of you who don't know, the RAG stands for Recruitment Agency Growth. Since early 2019, I've been interviewing the most successful and innovative recruitment owners to learn how they rose to the top of their game. In season 7, I'm going to be having raw, authentic, and insightful conversations with agency owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, people across the industry. And I want to be learning about their ambitions, what's happening behind the scenes in their agencies today, and their plans to navigate difficult market conditions. I'll be bringing you the latest and greatest recruitment stories every single week on Wednesdays at noon across multiple platforms. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RAG podcast. On this week's show, I'm joined by Richard Morton. I recorded this episode back in December, just before Christmas, and Richard is the founder of the Match Recruitment Group, and specifically a company called MatchMedics that specialise in bringing doctors from all over the world into the Irish market. Headquartered in Ireland, originally from the UK, Richard came on the show and explained how he's launched a recruitment company in his 50s, and it's never too late to build the company of your dreams. He had an amazing career working for other people. He even took some time out and helped train other recruitment companies around the world before launching his company in his 50s. And now he's looking for global domination. A truly amazing guy, super polite, friendly, open, kind, shares his journey to present day and where he's heading. And if you're someone who wants to launch a recruitment company in the future, like I say, the message on this episode is never too late. So let's get into it. Without further ado, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Good morning, Sean. Good morning.
We are sat here pre-Christmas, even though this will be going out in 2024. We are sat here in the build-up on the 19th of December. Question is, Richard, are you feeling festive?
I'm very excited, man. Very excited. Christmas jumpers are coming out on Friday, obviously, but not before then. But it's a busy time for us, particularly on the doctor's side. January and July are 2 months where we make 75% of our profits in those 2 months. It's like it's like December for retailers. So it's busy all the way through now until well beyond the new year. So it's good. It's good fun.
Well, I feel privileged to have got into your diary. Thanks so much. I won't waste this opportunity, right? Before I get into the story and that, and for people who don't know you, I've done a brief introduction, but could you just give us the bird's eye view of you and the company? That's people, location, what you do, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So listen, I'm a Brit living in Ireland. I live in the west of Ireland, and I run a company called the Match Recruitment Group. 3 brands in the group: Match Maritime, Match STEM, and by far away the biggest group is MatchMedics. So MatchMedics is a medical recruitment company. We recruit doctors coming into Ireland from international sort of candidate marketplaces. There are 18 of us in the company. We're 95% perm, to be honest. But that might change going forward. Very much a remote first company. And we've been going since November 2016, but really early 2017 we started, So 18 of us in the business.
That's the same as, isn't it? That's bloody hell. It's gone quick, hasn't it?
Amazing. Yeah. And I actually went back to the office where we first started last week for the first time in years, and geez, it brings back memories, Just walking into that first room, I literally had a laptop with 0 clients, 0 candidates, 0 anything, And
well, tell us. Let's go backwards. Tell me your story of getting into recruitment. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, that was 1989. Jesus, that is a long time ago. A naive graduate walked into an office. It was actually Alexander Mann in central London, thinking I could blag a job in sales, whatever, I walked into this room and it was just like a trading floor, just loads of people all on the phone. Obviously, no computers, no nothing in those days, And sat down in front of this fella. He interviewed me at his desk with all these people all around, and he just picked up the phone. He got his Rolodex out, picked up 3 clients, rang them while I was sat looking at him, spec me into the company, and got me 3 interviews in 5 minutes. I thought, wow, love it.
What he
didn't do though was offer me a job. That was the problem, because I went next door to another recruitment company and they offered me a job and I started the next day. And that's what I've ever done since 1989.
So Was he a rec to rec or something? What? Because
No,
why
no,
was he
no, no,
specking you
no,
into the
no.
company?
He was specking me into his clients. Like one was, like big sort of, multinationals were looking for, graduate sales
Sales.
trainees, whatever. So
Right.
he was getting me interviews, to make a placement on me.
He was obviously
Um,
pretty good though, wasn't he? If he could act that quick.
he was brilliant. He was brilliant, and I just loved the energy and the buzz and all this sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. I thought, wow, I want to do this. Um, and the company next door offered me a job. I said, yeah, go for it. And that's all I've ever done since 1989.
Wow. And what were you? I mean, probably a lot of variations of answers to this question, but what markets did you recruit back in the day?
It was finance, accountancy and finance, for the first sort of 5, 6, 7 years, or probably longer, 10 years, it was all accountants in London sort of thing, so part qualified accountants, just your standard sort of stuff. The two guys who hired me at the time, they were ex sort of Hayes. They'd gone through all the Hayes sort of training, whatever, so they trained me that sort of way. And it was great. It was late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. The real wild west of
What was it really like? Like, give us some genuine, like, give me a story that shows how it was like then.
But it was absurdly based around alcohol. I mean, it just was you would literally be working sort of half days most weeks. You work in the morning and then you go to the pub at lunchtime, and who knows when you might come back. If you ever came back.
And you'd have to bill all your money in the morning then.
Absolutely, yeah. I listen. You've been with a client in the pub half the time, but I do sort of staff reviews in the pub sort of thing. Over sort of 3 or 4 pints. I mean, it's just absurd when you think of it.
Great fun though.
It was good fun. It was good fun when you're young. Yeah, you can do it. So we were making great money at the time. Spending it all at the time. 10 years. Met my wife there. As I was saying to you, this new woman came and said, this woman has joined you on the temp desk, Richard. Fair enough. Yeah, here I am. 30 years later, married to said same woman. So.
So you met your wife sat next to her on the same desk.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And she's still Sean. She's still the best recruiter I've ever worked with. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
She was brilliant.
So how did that evolve? Did you manage her, or were you like equal?
No. We were just lumped together as often you are, And it was a reasonably big company. There were 40, 50 of us in the company, sort of thing. So, but again, all those sort of nights out and whatever, one thing leads to another, and there we go. So.
Wow.
But
she's Irish, right?
She's Irish from County Clare, and that's the reason why we're living on this side of the country. We moved back in January 2000, just after the millennium. So
right. So that's 23 years of wow. That's gone.
Yeah.
And so obviously you're an entrepreneur now. You've got a group of companies. How did again, without going into the detail of your years before that?
Yeah.
How did your career evolve from 1989 to 2016?
I'm thinking about this, Sean. I mean, I've listened to the rag since you first started, I think, and I used to, I still go quite often, but I used to go to Dublin every single week, on a Tuesday or a Thursday, whatever, and it was like 2 hours on the train, so I'd always have the rag on before, on the train journey up each week, and I get to the office and we have loads of ideas, and sort of, Graham, we're doing this now, we're doing this, I heard about this, it's great, So I listened to all, I mean, and primarily, obviously, without generalisation, primarily they're 20 to 30 somethings, aren't they? Who are really mad focused on what they're doing, and they're fantastic. And I learn so much from them every week, which is fabulous. I'm not like that. I'm one of these sort of accidental entrepreneurs. I mean, this has come to me very late in life. For the first 20 years, I was happy. Being a team lead in the early days, and a manager, and then I was a director of another company. But I was always a number two sort of thing, And so for some of your older listeners, I was always like a Peter Taylor to someone else's Brian Clough, And
I know exactly what you mean. But let's just discuss that then. Like, what are the benefits of that as opposed to being an entrepreneur? Because we'll talk about the benefits of being an entrepreneur. But when you don't have the stress of being an entrepreneur, you are just a senior employee. How would you describe that? You did that for long enough.
You did. I mean, you get the best. You get the best of both worlds, I think. Because you are part of the decision-making team. You are very close to the action, but you always know that the book doesn't stop with you. I mean, yeah, you still have sleepless nights, whatever. But it's still not the same.
No.
There's just something that's not definitive there. There's always like another option, and yeah. So, and I was happy with that. I mean, I had a great career. I enjoyed what I did. I love recruitment. Absolutely, I wouldn't stay in it for this long if I didn't. Obviously, and increasingly, I got more of a buzz from helping other people. So from supporting, guiding, helping them get to where they want to be. That was my motivation towards the latter end of that, and still is to a large extent. But I was happy, and I never really had that sort of.
So you're living in County Clare. You're travelling to Dublin how many times a week?
I just once,
Right.
Yeah.
So you were working heavily remote at that point.
Well, no. Before MatchMedics, it was all office. I mean, listen. I mean, we only went remote in March 2020.
So previous to starting your business in when you were in Ireland.
Yeah.
Where was the office? Was that in County Clare? Were you working for recruitment?
Yeah. So I worked for a company called TTM Healthcare for about 10 years, and they're in Ennis in County Clare. So that suited, and we helped grow that business. I mean, they've gone on to super things since I left. Absolutely, But yeah, that was, and listen, up until 2020, it was 5 days a week, Monday to Friday in the office. That was what it was.
That's what we did, yeah. So when did it start to become clear that you might not just carry on working for other people? Like, tell us, how did the entrepreneurial flair?
It's literally a phone call, Sean. As often these things are. I'd left TTM. I was doing my own sort of consulting sort of thing for a couple of years. Training and development, all that sort of stuff. And I enjoyed it. I was doing okay, and
helping other recruitment firms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So TTM was one of my biggest clients, sort of thing. So I was, training up their sort of newbies. I'm working with other recruitment companies up in Dublin, and some non-recruitment companies as well. I did some training with people like Sport Ireland and the Football Association of Ireland. That was good fun. I got a phone call out of the blue from a company called Knoll Recruitment. They wanted someone to be to manage their sort of healthcare team. They see my profile on LinkedIn, and would I be keen to have a chat? I said, yeah, why not? Always keen to have a chat. Had the chat. They invited me to meet their directors, and their directors turned me down. And said, no, nice guy, Richard, but you're not for us at this point. A month later, I'm just driving to another training gig, and get a call from one of their directors saying, listen, Richard, we're sort of we're sort of rethinking this a bit. You're not right for doing that job, but would you think about starting a brand new business for us, and I said, listen, we'll have a chat, And again, one thing led to another, and that's where MatchMedics came from, So they gave me the opportunity to design my own sort of business plan, get back into a market that I knew there was money to be made, and I just took a leap into the unknown and said, yeah, I'll go for it. How many chances in your life to get to do that? They were going to back it and fund it, whatever, and they wanted me to front it and to actually deliver it for them.
And how much of the business do you own?
It was there's sort of two directors of that company, so we went a third basically.
Right.
So that was the way we did it. But they're very much in the background. They're very supportive, but they let me, and now obviously Graham, who's now my co-director here. We run the business. We're very much independent, but we have all that sort of shared service sort of benefits in the background. So I get the best of both worlds. So I'm both an accidental entrepreneur and also a bit of a fraud because I've got other people doing that. Sean.
There's a million ways to do it. There's a million ways to do it. This is your way. So what about your wife? Did you not ever think of going to business with your wife?
Oh God, no. She saw the light and got out of recruitment when she came to Ireland, So no, she's now a psychotherapist and a counsellor, and
wow.
She does some really interesting sort of stuff with some fascinating sort of people, And no, she loves what she does.
What type of people does she work with?
It's basically alcohol and drug addiction, So.
Really?
So she's doing some real work, Sean. Yeah, while we sort of mess around putting people in jobs. I mean, she's doing some proper work.
Is that in Ireland as well? Or
yeah, in Limerick, So
because one of my best friends, Keith Cronin, who's done a lot of work with me from Dublin, lives in Sheffield near me. He's done a lot of work with me on not my alcohol addiction, because I've not got, and it's my relationship with it, to have a better, healthier. And he doesn't drink, and the stigma around an Irish guy not drinking is it's crazy. It's crazy, and he has to deal with that, and he thinks like the country needs so much help. From an alcohol perspective.
And this is it. I mean, I'm one of those weird people who came to Ireland and then gave up alcohol, sort of thing. So I stopped drinking in 2002. Right. I've not had a drink since, and again, lifestyle choice. Just wanted to do something different, and I never look back. To be honest, never look back.
The culture over there is, I mean, it's similar to the UK, but even they lean on it, right? And it's like an international badge of honour that they drink Guinness. They drink a lot.
Everyone does. You think of Ireland, you think of a pint of Guinness, don't you? Which is a bit sad, but that's just the way it is, and that's just. And listen, I wouldn't knock anyone for anyone's choices. I made mine, and I'm happy with it. But
that's great.
Everyone else can do what they want, but no. But she works in that setting, But it's still great to have someone who knows what our job is, and understands the job, has done the job, been there. And she gives me sound advice every single time.
And when you said you wrote the business plan, could you give us the kind of high level of what that was? What was in that? Like, what did you? What vision did you have back then in 2016?
Completely different to what it is now. As almost everyone on this rags always says, we were going to, to be honest, we were going to be a mini sort of, TTM healthcare where I've been, sort of thing, So doctors was only ever going to be a small part of what we did. We were going to be placing nurses and allied health professionals and physios and psychologists and you name it. We were going to do that. It was going to be a mixed sort of, perm and sort of, locum sort of, desk. It was going to grow into the UK pretty quickly. Much quicker than now, for example, and the numbers weren't outrageous. So I presented to them, but they were happy with it, and they could see a route to profitability pretty quick, and they were happy to fund that.
This broad healthcare plan up.
Broad, very much broad, yeah.
It's just you on day one.
Well, it was me and a girl called Nicola at the time who joined me. She had no experience. She was just helping me on the admin side, get clients and candidates.
So what was it like? Paint the picture then. So you walk in early 2017, the same time as I'm starting my business, and it was a pre-pandemic world, like you said.
It was.
Jesus. You put a picture up of your office on LinkedIn, didn't you? You put a picture of what it was like.
The chair, the MatchMedics chair. Remember that? So just an empty chair, and that's what I wanted to try and fill. It was literally a 2-person box, in a suburb of Limerick, not even the centre of Limerick, and it was me and Nicola, and it was deathly quiet, because you don't pick up the phone, nothing's going on,
How long have you been out of the game of actually recruiting?
4 or 5 years,
Yeah. So that's a big gap, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the overriding emotion, Sean, was fear, basically. Stone cold fear. Can I do this? And am I going to look stupid if I can't do it? And again, there's a lot of people on this series have always said, fear is a big motivator, isn't it? It might sound negative, but it's not. You just want to prove that you can go back into it and do it, whatever. But yeah, tough days. It wasn't.
So if you go in left to right across different professionals within the healthcare space, what were you doing? Because it's very hard to know which candidates to call. Were you just phoning?
Yeah,
we just phoning hospitals and private practice and trying
I was doing anything and everything, Sean. To get. I had 0 candidates, so I had no one to sell at that point. So had to build that up. So obviously put some adverts out and call people. And I knew that doctors, obviously, because of their salaries, you get a higher fee. So obviously I was focusing a bit more on that. But I went back to other people that I dealt with sometimes 4 or 5 years ago. I still had them in my phone, so I rang them and said, hey, listen, I'm doing this now, what do you reckon, and a few of them gave me bits and pieces of work to work on, and I made the classic mistake of trying to be all things to all people, taking on any sort of, potential lead job that I possibly could, just to get something on the board, and the first 3 years were a bit of a disaster, Sean, to be perfectly frank. I'm nowhere near where I wanted to get to, nowhere near the targets I'd sort of set myself. Literally nowhere near. I was spreading myself too thinly. I was getting people to do stuff that was never going to be that sort of profitable.
Is that internally?
Yeah, internally, yeah, exactly, yeah. So
how did it go in terms of headcount and stuff in the first year?
Yeah, well, the first year there were literally like two, three of us. I mean, Graham joined me in the April of 2017, and Graham is a super recruiter. I mean, probably second to my wife, I'd say, in terms of that. He's he took on that sort of doctor's piece for us and really sort of started to drive on. But there was only him, so it was difficult to make anything realistic, and I looked after some of the other sort of stuff, So I'd say three of us in the first year, and then maybe four in the second year, We grew pretty slowly, sort of thing,
That's fine. What when you said that we was getting people to do things that weren't profitable, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean placing like healthcare assistants for like €1,500, and 2 out of 3 of them dropped out after a week, because it's that sort of market,
Why did you go down that route?
Because it was some income coming in,
Right. It was what clients were asking for, so you were giving it.
Yeah, clients were asking for, and that was where the need was, and they didn't just need one healthcare assistant; they needed like 30, So you get a contract for 30 hires, and you think, yeah, great, But that 30 hires is only going to make you like 30K sort of thing, It's going to take you sort of 6 months, and listen, of course, it's ridiculously stupid when you think back on it now, But when you're starting something and you've promised, your investors that you're going to get some money back for them and you're going to get some income on the board, and listen, not everything I did was stupid, I mean, we did some stuff as well, But I'm just saying it wasn't all good,
But you spotted it. The reality is, you were aware of it. You spotted it. That there's parts of it enough for the effort you were putting in.
Yeah, but obviously, if I look back now, I would have spotted it earlier. I would have done something earlier. I wouldn't have waited sort of 3 years for that to happen.
And how was the relationship with the original partners, or the two investor partners at the time? Because if you didn't meet the numbers you put in your initial plan, how did they respond in those moments?
To be honest, they are sort of silent partners, and by that I mean they are silent. They left me to my own devices. I'd literally be in touch with them maybe twice a year, sort of thing, just to give a presentation in terms of where we are. I could see obviously that they weren't, hugely impressed with what we were doing, But they never threatened in any sense or form to pull the plug, They were supportive. I mean, I'm very thankful for them for believing in me and believing that we would, get there in the end, And hopefully we're all benefiting from that now, But no, they were very much in the background. They didn't know about healthcare. They didn't know that market at all. That's what they brought me in to do. So they relied on me. They trusted me, and I trusted them to sort of maintain the support, and that's worked out for now for sure.
So take us to that point then, where you said for 3 years it took you to figure it out. Take us to what happened. What was the kind of light bulb moment, and what happened next?
Remember clearly, I was lying on a sunbed in my parents' complex swimming pool in Spain, sort of thing. We'd gone away just for a week in September 2021. And I'd taken with, I always take a business book, whatever, and I'd taken the book, and I think you'd recommended it on one of the casts, and other people had as well. It was Traction by Gino Wickman.
Gino Wickman.
Exactly. So I took it with me, I read it, and things have never been the same since, basically, and it's just it's a simple book, isn't it? It's a simple book that you can apply to any organisation, a small one like ours or a bigger one, and it just pulled the scales from my eyes. And
what was it that you noticed? What did you notice when you read that book was missing?
I noticed how far behind the curve we were, but I noticed they said it very, very clearly. You've got to pick your market, and go for it, and obviously before that, I talked to some of my sort of mentors, whatever. I mean, they're really informal mentors, whatever, and said, look, this is my predicament here. Do I go for broke on doctors because that was the only thing that was doing well for us, or do I still hedge my bets a little bit? And to be honest, most of them advise hedging my bets, and say, well, listen, if doctors doesn't work out, at least you've got something to fall back on, But on reading Traction, it was clear to me that wasn't. We had to go for it, So I came back from that holiday, and everything changed. We just said, listen, that's it. We changed our tagline to MatchMedics. We recruit doctors. That's it. Just to be clear to everyone, that's what we do.
For people to understand, then, what's the difference in terms of salaries and fees that you can demand when you're talking about the different levels in healthcare?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, listen, like I said, like for a healthcare assistant, you might get 1,500 to 2,000 euro for a permanent placement. For a middle grade doctor, you're getting sort of 10 to 12,000 euros. For a consultant, you're getting multiples of that again. So it's by far and away, much more attractive in terms of fees. And you know what, Sean? It's just as easy, if not easier, to deal with doctors. Of course, you get some difficult cases, and you get people dropping out and all this sort of stuff, but far, far less than ever we found with nurses or healthcare assistants or any other grades.
Because their reputation is so much more important to them, isn't it, at that level?
Exactly. And of course, our sweet spot is bringing doctors in from overseas, sort of thing. So you don't just make a decision on a whim to pack up your family in Saudi Arabia and just go to Galway and Ireland, sort of thing. You think about that very carefully, and you need to be supported along that process, and that's what we do. So we earn our fees, absolutely, because there's a lot more to it than just recruiting.
So when you went into that 2021 September-October period, you changed your strap line. What did the business look like in terms of people, and how did you shape what everyone then did?
Yeah, it was still sort of 4 or 5 people, Sean. To be honest, so we had to make some tough decisions, and a couple of people left, and we were left just with a core team of sort of 3, just going forward. So we entered the pandemic, I suppose, that following sort of springtime. I think there were 4 of us in sort of March 2020. And even that year, we were still, we still finished that year just doing.
It wasn't 21 then; it was 19. Was it 2019 when you read the?
Sorry, it was. Sorry, yeah. So just coming even in the middle of the pandemic, where we were, in September 21, there were like 4 of us, so it was still very lean, and we were still only making about 600k in terms of GP or net fee income, so it still wasn't great, but that's when it all started to gather momentum at that point.
Talk us through what changed then. So when you stay in one space long enough, what starts to happen?
Well, what we did was because we were focusing on just doctors, we gave everyone a sort of specialty or a group of specialties to concentrate on. So, so Graham doesn't just recruit doctors; he only recruits doctors in emergency medicine, and that's it. So it's one, even a subspecialty of a specialty. So, but everyone knows who Graham is in emergency medicine. All of the consultants, all of the hospitals, all of the candidates know him. He knows exactly what makes an emergency medicine doctor tick. He knows what they want to see in a hospital that's going to get them interested in joining them. He goes to all of the conferences. He's visible. He's aware.
He's part of that community.
Absolutely. absolutely, and then every other person, look after, someone else will look after anesthesia and surgery, someone else look after psychology, psychiatry, and and you've got to obviously pick your markets. So we didn't just go into doctors. We doubled down on it and said we're going to really specialise in the sort of subspecialties of medicine, and that's been a game changer for us,
Yeah, because people, Richard, I mean, I've worked with a lot of customers in the industry, as you know, and I find a lot of businesses that are not performing well are because they're too broad. And what the reasons they don't niche down to the levels you've done is because they're frightened of what they'll lose.
Yeah.
They always think, well, yeah, but we're currently servicing all this. You're telling me I'm going to do that. I'm going to lose all of this. It's like, I think it's the opposite. You've got to focus on what you're going to gain.
Yeah. Well, that was me. That was me for 3 years. Absolutely. For sure. The fear of missing out, the fear of, what am I going to lose? But, listen, we are living proof that you can, absolutely do it. And listen, I've been in this market for so many years, Sean. Never ceased to amaze me how much money is spent in recruitment. And I mean, even now, it's mad, isn't it? There's always ways to make something. If you position yourself correctly, and you give your market what they want, obviously, and you listen to
if you're a professional in any space and you're going to stay in that market, ideally you want to have a handful of people that you can lean on to navigate your career that are going to be there in 10 years. They're still going to be around. Yeah. And that's the challenge with the growth of some recruitment firms is when you're moving your talent through to leadership so quick, there's always effectively a revolving door of the front office.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's a really difficult thing. Yeah, you might be building scalable, exitable businesses from a recruitment ownership, but the customer and candidate experience isn't as good because they're always seeing a new face from MatchMedics. So what's your approach to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we. I was listening to another podcast yesterday on drive back from Cork, and the chap was talking about patience. Okay, so yes, sometimes things can move really quickly, and you can get on the roll really quick, but typically the people who are really successful are the ones that are in it for the long game, and have that sort of patience approach, and they can, like you say, forgive a couple of difficult years at the start because they know that there's a sort of end game. And within MatchMedics and all the companies within the Match Group, we try and give people an opportunity to sort of grow and develop for the long term. Whenever I interview people coming into the business, I'm never interested in people who see this as just a job. I want people who can see this as a career. The career that I've had for the last sort of 30 years, is proof that you can do it. Graham joined me as a recruiter in 2017, and through the dint of all of his work and effort, whatever, he's now a director with a sort of share in the business. So people can see that sort of growth pattern. Juliana joined us as a resourcer. She's now leading Match Maritime, which is a brand new area for us, placing primarily doctors and other healthcare professionals onto cruise ships around the world. It's a fantastic sort of market, and she's really sort of grabbed that with both hands and is driving that forward.
What's the third brand again? You said Match.
The third brand, Match STEM. Match STEM is Match STEM and Match Maritime are very fledgling. They've only sort of started sort of this year. So Match STEM is very much getting us into the contractor marketplace. So STEM is obviously science, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. So
it's
all
not
of those,
doctors anymore.
Sorry.
Won't be any doctors in that space.
No. That is different. It's different. We had a chap called Paul. We just got an opportunity to work with Paul. He knows that market very, very well. The one area where we were less strong, obviously, was being pretty much a full-time perm sort of business. We wanted to have some recurring income coming in. So,
well, that's an interesting point. So, when it comes to the doctors, specifically MatchMedics, why haven't you gone into the local market? Because surely that's
breaking news, Sean. We have, and literally this week, we were able to announce that we did a partnership or a consortium with my old buddies at TTM Healthcare, and we've just won a place as a tier 1 provider to the healthcare system here in Ireland for locum doctors. Okay, so
Wow.
so we're literally starting that this week. This very week. So
What will that do for your business next year?
that's going to be a tough one because there are obviously a couple of incumbents who have been there for a long time. So we're going to have to sort of work really, really hard to make that. But it's a great opportunity for us again, I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how that grows and develops over the next couple of years.
I'm interrupting today's episode to give you a message from our brand new sponsor. Now, this company are called Untapped, and everyone knows that Hoxo, through this podcast, I've explained that we've built our team internationally, heavily in South Africa, okay? And I get questions all the time from clients and people who listen to the show, like, how have you done it? What was the process, etc. Well, I've partnered with a business that can ultimately reveal it all, share it all, and help you do the same, right? Because look, it's been a tricky year for the sector, and many of people through uncertain times have had to streamline operations. However, accessing low-cost resources internationally has proven to be a bit of a cheat code for some people, including Hoxo. But anyone who's tried it, like us, it's very difficult, a lot of work, process to get it right. So this company, Untapped, are one of the hottest companies in the market. They've helped Hoxo, they're helping our clients. And they specifically look at companies in the UK, US, Middle East, and Australia transition to using remote individuals and building full offshore sourcing and recruitment solutions. So they source talent pools from places like South Africa and the Philippines. And we're talking about experienced talent here. We're not talking about graduates with no experience. This is like people with 3 to 5 years recruitment experience, and integrate them into your UK team, okay? So they work remotely, but plug into your UK team. They put around 3,000 candidates per month through an intense 4-stage interview and online testing process to find the top 1% or 30 people and secure these people for work with recruitment agencies like yourself. All candidates are benchmarked against UK competency frameworks and the way in which you would hire in the UK. So we're not talking about cheap for the sake of being cheap. We're talking about international, experienced people just living in lower cost locations. So it's a really simple process. If you want to work with these guys, you pay a deposit to kick off their search. They then provide a candidate shortlist in 14 days. And then you can put people through your own process to hire them permanently, or there's a freelance option. So if you just want to try before you buy, they can employ them. You pay a daily rate and it's a freelance option. Untapped are totally transparent with all the salaries and fees. But we're talking about you'll still pay about 70% less than a UK equivalent in that role. So it's a no-brainer to complement your existing team, to handle surplus demand and ease cost pressures. If you're not using this to rip up your business and rebuild it with global resources, then you're probably going to fall behind eventually. So due to demand and capacity, they're only operating on a waiting list right now. So if you want to be part of their waiting list, go to www.tryuntapped.com. Okay, www.tryuntapped.com and check out their information. Make sure you say that you listen to the RAG podcast, because they'll do you a very special deal as well. Right, go and check them out. Back to the show.
It was always a weak point I felt, for us. We needed some recurring income. So through that bit of work, and then obviously through MatchStem, as that grows, we'll start to redress some of that balance. Because I certainly need to see a bigger percentage of our income coming in from recurring revenue sources. Yeah.
When you look at the business, so you said, the traction book, the change, we recruit doctors.
Yeah.
You were like 3 to 4 people at that point.
Yeah.
As soon as you niche down, how has that grown in both people and revenue?
It's grown amazingly. So the first year after we doubled down to the doctors, we hit the 1 million mark. In terms of GP. Last year it was 1.8 million, and this year we're threatening to hit the 3 million mark. So it's just been fabulous.
Out between how many recruiters?
Well, there are 18 of us in the company now. So there's a couple of people who do look after the sort of pre-employment compliance sort of stuff. And then we have like a recruiter resourcer model. So there's 4 or 5 resourcers, and then 6 or 7 recruiters, and then me and Graham sort of thing,
It's good across. I mean, that's a really good, highly profitable, per head business. And
Yeah.
how do you manage that resourcer recruiter model? Because I recently interviewed a firm in Australia, and their model was awesome. They're getting 7 year plus recruiters in, giving them a resourcer from the Philippines or something who is also 6-7 years, and together they're doing the job that one person is often forced to do in most agencies. They're doing it as a duo, and they're finding that the billings are just going through the roof per duo. So how do you manage that?
I heard that episode. It was great, So it's been a bit more sort of organic in terms of its growth, to be honest, but really, each sort of team, I say, whether it's the medical surgical team, the GP team, the psych team, maritime, they all tend to have like one sort of core resourcer who's supporting sort of one or two sort of recruiters. So again, we have that sort of specialty sort of model. So the resources only resource in their medical specialty. They don't do cross specialty recruiting. They know exactly what they need to do, and therefore they're building their networks, their communities. The resourcing team, we all get together on a Thursday at 2:00. I sort of lead that sort of meeting, and we talk about anything and everything to do with resourcing. What's coming up? What challenges have we had? Where are we finding our star candidates this week? What can we learn from each other, sort of thing. So peer-to-peer learning has been a really, really strong bedrock to what we've done.
You've also got two teams, really, haven't you? You've got functional and cross-functional teams. You've got people that are just doing niches together in twos, and then you've got resources and is it account managers or the recruiter? What do you call them?
Well, we call them recruiters, but I mean, they do a little bit of business development, but I mean, if you're dealing in the public sector here in Ireland, there's only 25 hospitals, to deal with, so it's hardly a huge amount of people, so and they all know who we are, and we're on different frameworks and all of that anyway, so it's more account management on that side. But where we've done really well in the last sort of couple of years is reduce our reliance on the public healthcare system, here, so whereas sort of pre-traction, it was sort of 80-90% of our business, because that was it, now it's less than 40%,
so private is more, it's commercial, private, right? It's absolutely,
and also general practice, the primary care, whatever, your local family doctor, whatever, that was never, we never did that in the first, number of years, but Shirley's grabbed that desk and has built a team of 4 people to sort of service that market. And that's another thing that we've done there is we talk a lot about transformation in sort of, the Match Group and particularly MatchMedics recently, we transform the lives of our doctors, coming from different parts of the world into Ireland, whatever, but we also transform our markets that we work with, so general practice, for example. I mean, really, MatchMedics have created a new employment category there. There always were a few sort of salaried general practitioners, but not many. But we, and Shirley leading it in her team, have really created that sort of employment category, and she's placing doctors hand over fist into that really sort of difficult sort of marketplace. Where
why is that? Is that because it was set up by a duo or triple partner? Yeah. It's like a partnership, and
exactly. It's a partnership model. It's a partnership model. I think it's similar in the UK. I think there's your typical family sort of doctor, whatever. It's a partnership model, and it worked fine for many years. But a lot of those doctors are now reaching retirement age, whatever. They're coming out of the system, whatever. It's difficult in many towns and cities and villages now in Ireland to find a family doctor who's able to take you on. So
do they sell their practice, or do they just pass it on?
Many of them pass it on to family members who also become doctors, whatever. But some of them just it just leaves the local economy, and then there are some big players coming in who are pooling practices together and making something from it, and there are bigger sort of primary care centres here in Ireland, sort of growing and developing, But we said to them, well, listen, we can find doctors in South Africa, who can come across and actually take on a patient list for you, pay them X on a salary, give us Y as a fee, and you've got that continuity of care, that you're not relying on hourly paid or daily paid locums to come in and go out or whatever. It's a much more sustainable model for the practice. And over the last 2 or 3 years, that's been a really big growth area for MatchMedics, placing doctors into that system.
Love it. How do you describe like what you do? Are you still recruiting yourself?
I don't know, and I missed it as well. So my job basically is to help everyone else do their job better, basically. So whether it's helping Graham, he manages the team, most of the recruits on a day-to-day basis. I focus a bit more on the resources and the sort of compliance area. And the two new brands, obviously, maritime and STEM. So, but it's a tricky one for me. I mean, I have to admit, sometimes you look at your diary and think, well, where should I be adding more value today, sort of thing. It's that classic sort of area, whereas you've been used to sort of, doing the work, and doing the actual recruiting day to day. When you move away from it, you see, we're lucky we have, the shared services do all the invoicing and the accounts and the IT support. So I'm lucky I don't have any of that sort of headaches, whatever. But some days I do think of myself as the most well-paid office manager in Ireland, But so there's a bit of that to be done. But listen, if it helps the guys on the floor do their job better and perform better, then that's
I think whenever you've come from our backgrounds, your natural disposition of working is to be on the phone or in a meeting, right? And when you're not, when you're doing anything, writing reports, reading spreadsheets, looking at training manuals or whatever you're doing, it also feels like you're cheating a little bit. Like I think even now, as the CEO of my business in the same period of you, there's loads of things I don't do that I used to do. But if I get a day on them, I feel like I've worked, like I've actually done my job. Like yesterday, I must have had 8 back-to-back sales calls, which I haven't done that for 6 months. And I felt good at the end of the day, like, that was a solid day's work. But the reality is, if it's only about me doing the work, it'll never get to where it needs to be.
No, exactly.
Obviously, you were instrumental in bringing your team onto my boot camp and joining the Personal Brand Academy. Talk us through why did you see that as a benefit? What was it about it that made you join?
Well, listen, we track the sources of our candidates very, very strongly. It's something I've always done, and over the first number of years, I mean, LinkedIn was never a big part of our sort of sourcing strategy, to be honest. And it's only really been the last sort of couple of years that we've seen, it sort of spiking a little bit, So we could see there was more opportunity. I think LinkedIn are spending more time developing, healthcare professionals to join the network, So we could see there was some good possibilities there. We could see our clients were looking for more high level sort of, candidates, consultant doctors across different disciplines, and we knew that LinkedIn was the place where we could find them, And having obviously listened to the RAG, obviously, Hoxo was the first place that we looked. So I had a chat with Amar at the time, and he showed us what the offering was, and I think we put the first sort of 6 people on it in literally this time last year. We were doing a deal. Got them started in January. The first 6 loved it, and now with every single person has been on the course, in the company, and Kia, who's our most recent hire, is joining the January cohort as well. It's been great for us.
And how would you describe like the feedback and what's actually happened from a business perspective? Because that's always the question we get is like, what's the point? People say.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it gets everyone on the same sort of page. It gets everyone talking the same sort of language around LinkedIn. People still talk around 20-10-5. They still talk about entertaining, valuable, credible content, whatever. So even the language that we use.
Methodology. A bit like traction, isn't it? It's a methodology that you all buy into,
absolutely.
like level 10s and that whole piece.
Absolutely, and the same with traction, whatever. You talk about rocks, whatever, and the vision board and all that sort of stuff. So no, the boot camp was great for that. On a Tuesday afternoon, whatever it was, for the 6 or 8 weeks, so the energy and enthusiasm that yourself and your colleagues put on the call is great, but also the practical resources that you provide as well, in terms of templates and questions you ask yourself, in terms of content. We're still very much a user-generated content organization. We've got a marketing sort of arm in the shared services, but we don't tend to use it very often. We're self-sufficient in terms of that. So all of the content we put on in the last year has all been basically on the back of the Hoxo sort of stuff that we did.
And what impact has it had?
Oh, massive impact. It has. We were using Shield obviously up until a few weeks ago. If you look at the numbers on the analytics, they were up by factors of 200% in terms of numbers of posts, numbers of comments and shares, whatever. The engagement was high, and still the same number of users as last year. But phenomenal. But obviously the main impact obviously is in terms of generating placeable candidates.
Yeah.
This year we're tracking to do over 600,000 euros worth of business from directly placed candidates from LinkedIn.
Wow. What was that like before?
It was less than half that.
Wow.
Less than half that. So listen, it's a no-brainer for us, in terms of that, because again, these are the high caliber, high value sort of candidates that we can place. If we can find a European Union trained specialist doctor, we can sell Ireland easily. Ireland's got a great story, it's got a great opportunity. Salaries are great here in Ireland. That's a big obviously factor for sure. But getting hold of the people and as ever, it's people also coming to us. Well, obviously we're reaching out to them. We've got recruiter licenses, we've got job slots, we've got all that sort of stuff, and emails, but it's the ones where obviously candidates reach back out to us, which is
and it's the recognition as well, isn't it? It's like people know who you are, and then when you reach out, they actually reply. Whereas before,
absolutely,
if they don't know you, the trust is so small, and it's just so much harder.
And a funny one, I was talking to a potential recruitment consultant, who's based in Australia a short while ago, and they work for another medical recruitment company in Australia, and she said that one of her colleagues on the psychiatry recruitment desk in Australia learned pretty much all their knowledge around psychiatry recruitment from my colleague James, from all of his LinkedIn posts. I haven't told James that yet. I will. I must tell him.
Oh wow! So you're educating your competition, but then they'll end up working with you, won't they?
Well, this is it. But listen, that person approached us. Yeah. Because they're looking at coming back to Ireland next year. They approached us and said, MatchMedics is the company that I want to work for, and it's pretty much all to do with all of the posts that we do on LinkedIn.
I love it. Richard, where's the business heading? So you're at a point in your life, like you said, you've come to this late, right?
Yeah.
It sounds, I get a vibe that you're really enjoying it. Like you're not, your energy is like you're 22 and you're loving it. So what are you trying to do now? What's the future? You're launching locum, you're launching these new divisions. Yeah. What's the vision or the kind of North Star of your business?
It's a good question, and it's something that myself and Graham, talk about. Obviously, we talk every day for sure, but we meet every month to sort of see where we are, and to be honest, because of what I've learned so far, it's difficult to make too many projections forward. It's difficult to have too many very sort of hard set sort of ideas. We just want to be the best that we possibly can be, and. We had to go back to go forward sort of thing, so we've gone back into that sort of specialist sort of, MatchMedics piece, but now we're going forward again, and that's why we've got, maritime and STEM, locums, contractors, whatever, and those areas they've got massive potential, Sean, all of them. And for the next sort of number of years, those are going to be the key sort of areas, We still haven't cracked Ireland yet, we're still...
And then you could go international, couldn't you? You could start recruiting.
We absolutely could. And obviously the UK is on our doorstep. The NHS, surprise, needs a lot of doctors. So and
the US, private healthcare in the US.
Absolutely.
It's only the other way, right?
So the UK and the US, for sure. And also, I've always had this mad idea that. The places like China, obviously with their burgeoning sort of, middle class, whatever, they're going to be developing private hospitals. They're almost certainly going to need European trained doctors to go and manage and lead some of that. I mean, maybe I'm being naive. Maybe they've got better healthcare system than we have. I don't know. But that's again big picture, long term sort of stuff. Medicine is such a globally sort of diverse and fluid sort of
it never ends. It's never gonna. You're not having a recession in medicine.
And you always need people. Obviously, technology has transformed medicine, of course, but it's really helping the actual humans, to do their job. So there's always going to be that massive sort of human element to healthcare and medicine, And
do you think, is it a business you'd want to sell? Do you want to have like an MBO? Or have you ever thought about the exit?
To be honest, not really. No, and I honestly haven't, sort of thing. When we first started, the guy said to me, they see this as being a minimum of a 10-year sort of venture sort of thing, and we're sort of 7 years into it sort of thing, but no, we're nowhere near anywhere near where we want to get to at the moment, and we've got so much to do. We need to sort of broaden out a lot of our offerings, whatever, to make us even saleable, I'd say, but we're putting the building blocks in, and we're building a really good team of people. I mean, the team is just fantastic. Sure, I can't tell you how much I admire and respect everyone on our team, and I hope that they want to stick with us for the long term. We try and build an environment where people do want to stay, and we've been very successful in the last number of years in sort of keeping people to a large extent, and so we've got huge areas of potential growth, and I just want to exploit them. And
I just want to say, well done, mate. I think what I love about this episode is, you've probably been very humble, right? You've not come on here to try and shout about how fast growing. Like if anything, you've played it down, I think, a little bit. But you're clearly someone who loves what they do, who's passionate about the market, passionate about the people they work with, and you're changing your life, your family's life, the market, and and again, I don't know your exact age, and we don't need to discuss that, but you're at an age in your life that I don't think many people do this. Yeah. So well done. And it just shows other people. Like there's so many recruiters now in firms in their mid to late 40s who think, I'm done. I don't even know what I'm going to do now. I couldn't start again. I couldn't start my own. Why not? There's so much opportunity out there. Like you can do anything, anytime with the right energy, the right vision, and the right people around you. I think that's all you need.
100% sure. And I say to everyone, even if you get a new client on board or a new area, once you've actually made some real impetus in it, just drive the bejesus out of it, because you never know when it's going to stop. Yeah. You never know when things are going to change. You never know when the wind's going to be blowing in a different direction. So once you have that opportunity, drive on, and that's my mentality.
My final question then. So you mentioned 75% of your business is in January and July. Did you say?
Yeah.
So is that based on like the flu?
Well, 75% of the public sector healthcare business is in January and July.
But is that because they can only leave their jobs at certain times of the year?
Yeah, no, it's just what we call rotations. Okay, so doctors basically take 6 or 12-month contracts, and they either start. So hospitals can't have people starting in March or April, because it would just move things around. So every doctor moves in either January or July, and that. So
it's a bit like football, then. It's like the transfer window.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Exactly that. So we're heading towards transfer deadline day on it's January the 8th, actually, my birthday, which is 2024 changeover date.
So will you get time off at Christmas, or will you be working in between?
Listen, of course, yeah. I mean, hospitals don't. I mean, we'll be covering the desks next week, absolutely. Every day will be covered. But we cover each other. So we do have time to take a break. But
would you go on a holiday? If you're going to take a holiday, would it be February then? Just get through it and
exactly. Afterwards is always best. But yourself, Sean. I mean, you never take real holidays when you're running a business. You've always got your phones and your emails on.
I'm going to Dubai on the 30th of December for 2 weeks, cool. And I've got a bit of work. I've got about 3 days of working with clients, and I'm going to be recording 4 episodes of the Rag live in a studio, cool. Which I'm super excited about in the UAE. But this week has been nuts to try and get everything done so I can actually have a holiday. I mean, yeah, I'll have my laptop, I'll have my phone, I'll be responsive, but I genuinely want to try and. It's been an amazing year. It's been a very difficult year at times, and we all know the market's been shot to bits in places.
Yeah.
But for me personally, to thinking in a year, this time last year, I wasn't living in the house I'm living in. I didn't have a baby. Wasn't even pregnant. I'd only just got married. We're embarking on a renovation project that took 7 months. Like the things we've got through as a family this year are just bonkers. So it's like go and enjoy it, come back energized for 2024. And I wish you the best of luck, mate. And I think I'd love to get you back on again in the future and see how the future pans out. If anyone's listening and either wants to work with you, ask any questions, any advice whatsoever, or just pick your brains, is LinkedIn okay? Just tag you.
Yeah, always the best. You'll see me on there. Always happy. And listen, I know you always say that after every episode. And 4 or 5 times I have then reached out to people who've been on the episode, and people have always come back to me. I've been really genuine and sort of tried to help. So and I'm happy to pay that back.
Thanks for today, and thanks for listening. It means an awful lot.
Pleasure. Thanks, mate. And listen, happy Christmas, and I hope you and yours have a great New Year.
You too. Cheers, mate. Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. We're currently working with over 350 recruitment agencies and 5,000 of their consultants right now, helping them to build their personal brands, to consistently win more business, attract talent, and just become that go-to recruiter in the market. Now, we do have a huge coaching program, but a lot of people don't know we also manage the brands of a lot of founders, and we can do the rebrand of that company organizational piece as well. So if your recruitment agency either needs help to look and sound exactly how you want it to, or your leadership and consultant level need to get out there and drive more traffic back to that website, to the business, and start using LinkedIn to generate more revenue, then you should definitely be reaching out to us. If that sounds of interest, please do visit www.hoxomedia.com or drop me, Sean, a personal message on LinkedIn. I love hearing from RAG listeners. I would love to talk to you. Look forward to it. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.